Hi, my name is Andy Sharma, and I'm going to talk about global data protection regulation today. And so just to give you a brief introduction about myself, I'm a data protection and data analytics professional with 7 years of experience in data protection and 10 years plus experience in general data management area. This is my video in a series of video on EU's upcoming GDPR, which is due to come into effect on 25th of May 2018. So today is 17th of September 2017. This only leaves us around 8 months to prepare ourselves before this comes into effect. So without further ado, what is GDPR? In a nutshell, this is a regulation around EU residents' data privacy. That is how EU residents' data can be used for various purposes. Now, EU has Consolidated Data Protection Directive of 1995, which was like a few decades before the real information age began. But that's the reason why they have changed this directive and adopted a new regulation that's coming in 2018. Now, as this is a regulation against directive, member nations don't have to pass subsequent legal acts to adopt it, and this will be adopted by default. So, who will be impacted and how they will be impacted? So, all businesses processing EU residents' personal data will have to comply, irrespective of where business is based. Now, they can be based in the US, India, Philippines, but if they are processing EU residents' data, then they are all covered under this act, and this act applies to them. Now, the penalties of non-compliance are huge. They will be up to 4% of global turnover, or 20 million euro, whichever is higher, in most severe cases, of course. But don't panic if you are currently more or less compliant with the current data protection acts in any European Union jurisdiction. You might be okay, and you of course have to do few tweaks in order to adopt the new regulation, but you will be mostly compliant. So what are the main changes in GDPR versus existing Irish/UK data protection acts? So as I mentioned before, there is increased territorial scope, as it doesn't matter that processing is taking place in EU or outside of EU, as far as it's EU's resident/data subject, all businesses are covered. And there are bigger fines, as mentioned above. Now, there is one interesting change, which is still to be seen how it'll impact us, and we will see that in 2018, is one-stop shop. What that means is that if you are operating EU-wide, you can select your data protection authority that you want to deal with. Now, this will depend on where your major data activities happen within EU, if you are based in EU. But that's still to be seen, and most of the data protection authorities will cooperate among themselves. So selecting one authority over another won't get you out of trouble if you are in one. Data notification has to be done within 72 hours. Now, this is again a significant change, and it's a mandatory data breach notification. So if something happens over weekend, things has to move very fast, and you have to have competent team in place in order to do that. Now, subject access request. Now, if any person requests their data, it's called subject access request, and there are few changes around subject access request, so this has to be looked into as well by each organization to make sure, first of all, that staff knows how to identify a subject access request, and then a data privacy team responds to subject access request within due time. And there's right to be forgotten as well, and there is significant changes around marketing preferences. So guys, it's all opt-in now. There is no opt-out process anymore. What that means is all those pre-tick boxes, they are gone. If people want to sign in for email or any further marketing activities, there has to be explicit opt-in. Privacy by design. So you should think of that data privacy before everything rather than thinking it after a project is implemented. Data retention schedule. Now is a good time for all businesses to identify that what data they need and for how long they need it, and if they don't need this data, it will be in their own interest to define data retention schedule and get rid of the data or get rid of the data access from bulk of the stuff. Now that can be done by anonymizing of data, or there's a new term called now pseudo-anonymizing of the data. So yeah, that has to be looked into. Now you need to have a data protection officer in the new law. So everyone need a central officer in the organization who will be dealing with data protection authorities. One of the pros that has come into in this regulation is data controller and data processors both will be responsible for data protection. So this is a very welcome change, but again, both can be held responsible even if it's a third party mistake. So yeah, that has to be looked into as well. Now onus is on the businesses to demonstrate compliance. So that is a big change as well. Now all these are changes, but again, there were already sufficient powers into national data protection acts which were in effect before this regulation was adopted or will be adopted in 2018. But the most striking factor of this regulation is the fines. That will get things moving. Now, what organizations need to do in order to be compliant? So it'll depend on business to business. It's very subjective, and you need to have your own privacy professionals advising you on how to deal with things. But in a nutshell, if you follow my quick 12 steps guide, you should be fine. Now, of course, you have to adopt it per your individual organization's requirements. So what are these 12 steps? Now you need management buy-in. Now if top management is not behind this, nothing is going to move. So you need to make sure they understand the severity of it and they are all in for all the efforts that needed to happen in order to adopt this change. Now you need to identify your core team, data privacy professionals, information security guys, service delivery manager who manages data assets within the organization. Number 3, you need to review all your policies and accommodate GDPR into them. Number 4, review marketing preferences processes. Is it opt-in, opt-out, and how you're going to move into opt-in scenario. Now you need to create lots of register. Remember, demonstrate compliance. So you need a data breach incident register, data subject access request register, vendor and third party register, data catalog, and communication register where any communication with data protection commissioner or authority is lodged. Number 6, review third-party contracts. Make sure that you have sufficient provisions that if you need to go and audit third-party, or you need to make sure that they are keeping your data safe, that's all built into the contracts, and there is no ambiguity or confusion once a breach happens. Data project impact assessments. Now, this is privacy by design, so you need to make sure that you are assessing all the ongoing initiatives before it's too late or too hard for you to accommodate any change. Now, one of the most important and effective tool that organizations can adopt is mandatory awareness program. Now, online programs are good, but you don't know that staff are just half looking at the videos rather than grasping the essence of it. So the best approach, in my opinion, will be to have classroom or video conferencing session where experts are just saying all that I have said, so staff knows that what's going on and they can ask any questions, and that should be appreciated by all data privacy teams. Now, review all ID systems. Do you have a bring your own device policy, etc. Subject access requests and the process around it should be reviewed. Again, once all this is done, you need to move on to internal audit. You want to bring in a third-party auditor to see that how people looking from outside see compliance within the organization. That's the best way to do it, if you have the budget, of course. And if not possible by May 2018, especially after that, an ongoing effort should be third-party audits. Now, this is the source of the biggest data privacy incidents, and around 60% of all data breach incidents has to do with third party being involved. So it doesn't matter you are solid, you have to make sure that all your partners and vendors are compliant as well. So I'm just gonna draw a conclusion here. So the regulation was signed off in April 16, around 18 months ago, and the grace period given was 2 years till May 18 to adopt this. Now, this was sufficient time at the time, but clock is ticking, guys. It's only 8 months left now, so you have to make sure that you have proper team in place and you're giving them sufficient time to make all the necessary changes. Data Protection Commissioners, they are all prepared. Irish Data Protection Commissioner has increased their budget 4-fold since last 3 years, and their staff has doubled. So they're all prepped and they're ready to go. Are you? So I'll leave you with this thought, and I'll appreciate your feedback on this video. This is the first time ever I'm doing a YouTube video, so I'll appreciate constructive comments. If you need me or you need to ask me any question, I am available on my email address, which is andy.GDPR@gmail.com. So it's andy.GDPR@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Have a good day.